Go ahead and get us started. I'm going to go ahead and start a recording. Welcome to the April session of pyramid model practices. Miss Gloria, I'm going to mute you just so that the background noise
Oh
isn't.
yeah, sorry.
You're good. So we're going to do, we've spent the past couple of months talking about, our past couple sessions talking about social emotional skills. These trainings are standalone trainings, so you don't have to have attended previous sessions in order to get the content from this session. But so we are going to talk about how do we individualize teaching of social emotional skills. And so the agenda for this section, we're going to talk about systematic individualized instruction. We're going to talk about how to teach systematically, how to use peers and intervention within training, individualizing. We're going to also talk about planning for embedded instruction and then progress monitoring. There's a lot of content in this particular training series today. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat or please unmute and interrupt me and ask. And hello, Miss Jolise. It's always lovely to see you. All right, so we've talked about the importance of teaching social emotional skills to all children. We do this by teaching the entire class and supporting children to use the skills in their own activities and interactions with others, as well as sharing information with our families. So in addition to that, we want to be prepared to meet the needs of individual children who might need additional instruction. So we're going to discuss how to design individualized instruction to support children who might be missing skills or need more assistance to use social emotional skills. Individualized instruction is used to ensure that children who have social emotional delays are receiving systematic instruction on these important skills. Often, these children who are at risk of developing severe behavior challenges. So, in order to provide individualized instruction, we must first identify the skill that we want to teach and then provide systematic instruction on the skill throughout the day. And hello, Miss Teresa. Good to see you today. So when we describe individualized instruction, this is going to be a systematic way of approaching and planning and implementing these social emotional skills that we're trying to teach in the classroom. And so research has shown that when we follow these steps and we're intentional and systematic about teaching the children, they're more likely to pick up the targeted skills very quickly. And so the three major steps are going to be to identify the skills that we want to teach, provide that systematic instruction that is embedded in routines in planned activities. And we'll go through what that looks like today. And then we're going to want to monitor their progress to make sure that they're making gains towards learning that skill that we've identified for them. If not, then the strategies that we're using are not as effective. So there's a lot of social emotional skills that might be taught. So our first task is going to be to identify what skills are most important to target for this child. When we do this, we will be very specific and then narrow down the skill to make sure it's very clearly defined and it's not just a really broad, large category of skills. So for example, a broad category might be peer play, but we have to really define it down to something more specific where we have to teach them how to ask a peer to play. So these are some skills that we might choose from with the children that we're trying to support. And we want to make sure we identify very specific strategies for that as well. So when planning for individualized support, we want to ask ourselves these questions to help guide the planning for our individual children. So, what skills does the child have now? We might use some data collection to identify that. We might use a developmental screening like ASQs, or we might do observations in a natural environment with the classroom or at home. And then we want to determine what skills does the child need? What are the family's goals for their students? It's really important to take family feelings into consideration. What is developmentally appropriate? What's culturally appropriate? And again, this is going to come through data collection with those screenings, observations, some evidence of child behavior, child assessment, partnerships with our families, family interviews, and discussions about cultural norms. And then we're going to want to identify how we will help the child move from where they are now to where they want to go. So identify that targeted skill, create some modifications and adaptations, and then increase opportunities for children to learn and practice the skill as well as monitor it. So this slide shows an example of how we can break down social emotional skills into obtainable, teachable, and measurable goals. Sorry. So for example, using emotional regulation strategies to calm down, we might teach the child to take 3 deep breaths when they're upset. Or if we're trying to teach a friendship skill, tapping on their shoulder to initiate an interaction or asking to play. And then helping identify problems might be one. So having the child state their feelings, such as I am frustrated, and then receiving the help that they need from an adult or a peer. We're going to go into teaching systematically. So we're going to give children help. So thinking about how do we teach a new word to a 12-year-old, or how do we teach a child to zip their jacket? And then how do we teach a child to say thank you after receiving it? What do you guys think? How do we teach all those things?
By modeling.
Yeah, modeling, giving them time to practice. Thanks, Miss Gloria. So some of you might be familiar with the term prompting hierarchy, which means that the amount of assistance or prompting that's provided by an adult or a peer to help a child respond correctly or learn a new skill. So these are some strategies. So a verbal prompt can be indirect. So it might be something like, what do you want? Or direct, telling the child exactly what they're expected to do. A visual cue, we might use a picture to show a child what to do. A gesture might be pointing to what we would like the child to do. Modeling, like Miss Gloria said, showing the child what to do. And then physical assistance. This might be, minimal guided, supported, guidance. We might have to lift their elbow towards the paintbrush. Or full assistance, hand over hand guidance, hand on hand to help them with the paint. You see, Ms. Zamari said, repeating it several times, letting them do, help them. Yes, absolutely. So the use of helping prompts is an evidence-based practice that's research supported when implemented correctly. So for example, a child, might be completing an arrival routine while standing in front of their cubby, and the direction might be for them to take off their backpack. If they don't take off their backpack, we might point to a picture of a backpack and repeat the verbal direction, take off the backpack. If they still don't take off the backpack, we might touch the backpack and then point to a picture or a cubby and then say, take off the backpack. The child might then take off the backpack, and then we're going to really provide that positive descriptive feedback. You took your backpack off. You are ready to start the day. Excellent. Give me a high five. Give me a fist bump. You're awesome. And so the purpose and the rationale for offering that kind of assistance is to use the prompts to provide the child with just enough support that they respond correctly. So when we use helping prompts, there are decisions we have to make as we design what those prompts are going to be for our plan. We have to decide if we're going to start with the most intrusive prompt, like asking a question, or we might approach it differently by selecting the child's current ability and then building on that to use that skill. So if we know that a child can do a skill, but maybe they're just not using it fluently, we might start with a question. And so the child has never used the skill. We'll probably start with very full physical assistance. And so helping prompts help us depend on or helping prompts we use is going to depend on what the skill is and what skill level the child currently has for that skill. We're going to watch a quick video. It's 35 seconds. So this is an example of how levels of assistance or prompting can be used in the classroom. So in this training, we watch a bunch of videos from classrooms and teachers who are being coached and working out in the field. We use these videos to illustrate different practices and to reflect on our own current use of practices. So, some of the videos we see might not illustrate teachers implementing things like you might. We're just watching them to have an opportunity to see what it looks like in the classroom. Sorry, guys. Let me turn my sound on and then we'll start our video.
Hello. Hi. Hi. Good job. Check your schedule.
How are you girls today?
Hi, Andy.
No way. They finally stopped raining? Thank goodness, huh? I'm not good on screen, though.
She's a movie star, huh?
That they filmed on Tuesday.
All week.
Oh,
Well, just Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Then we're done. Hello, Alexandra. Hi. Missed you yesterday.
All right, so we see, her going to check the schedule. She's using it as a transition. So, this is a way of using supports to help the child, Michaela, use the schedule and transition. So thinking about, what extra help did she need to check her schedule and move to the next activity? And in addition to the verbal prompt, was there another prompt used that might help her be successful? And then, what might we do differently if we were Michaela's teacher? So, does anybody have any thoughts on this particular video? Miss Julie said she feels like it's a good resource. Yeah. Oops. I'll watch the chat box in case anybody else has some thoughts on the video, but we might also see that the teacher assured that Michaela was attending to paying attention before she gave the prompt to check the schedule. So she used a verbal prompt, she used wait time, she used a visual matching picture. All right, we're gonna watch another video. So this one's about 52 seconds. And so we have another video with Michaela. And so the video that Michaela has chosen to choose a song during large group time. So the teacher's going to use some physical prompting to help Michaela attend to the visual song choice board. And then she has a tendency to be delayed in responding to routines and requests. And she also engages in behavior which might interrupt her responding. So we're going to watch and see how she uses these prompts to support her looking at the choice board.
What do you want to sing? We have Old MacDonald, we have Bumblebee, we have Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes. Which one? Do you want Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes, Michaela? Look. Bumblebee? Old MacDonald. No, you can't look at the side. Come on. Thick one. Ooh, Bumblebee's a fun one. Take it off, Michaela. Put it up here. Good job. That's a fun one. I want to sing Bumblebee. Good job. Give me 5. Good job.
So thinking about, the prompts that were done here, thinking about what extra help did she need to select her song? What help or prompting did the teacher use to use a sentence about her selection? And is there anything else that we might do differently here? Any thoughts on this video?
I like the way that the teacher modeled for her what she needed to say to help reinforce her language skills.
Yeah, absolutely. She had that positive feedback. She does give those verbal sentences to help her with choosing. All right. We have another video. This one's a little bit longer. This one's about a minute and 26 seconds. And so in this video, a teacher is guiding a peer to assist with the instruction of a classmate with disabilities. So the child wearing the shamrock hat has paper copies of a puzzle, and her goal is to select the piece she wants and hand the sentence strip to the peer to request the puzzle piece. So we're going to watch how, like what kind of prompting is needed to help her understand and complete the task.
Oh, guys. Yes. It's not me, it's just you. Okay, you guys. Okay.
Fish, real quick, Jeff. Gotta give her the fish first. Put it right in her hand like this. Watch it. Fish. Just like this. Oh my gosh, those keep coming untied. Yeah, crazy. All right. Jessica.
You want to
Show her. She's a skin.
Which one do you want? This one or this one?
Goes 2 years now, a lot of the 5-year-olds, so they really understand.
Look what Jessica has. She's a crab. I'm the crab. Woo! Tell her what it is. Tell her crab. Okay. Crab. I'm going to clean it up this time, okay? Yay!
So we're going to reflect again here. You know, what level of prompting did she need to look at the peer and give the sentence strip to the peer? And what are the children learning through this activity? Any thoughts on this video?
I like the technique they used in this video to help another child, guide through peer help, to not only teach the child with a disability, what it looks like to be a friend, but also teaching the other child that even somebody with a disability can interact and play with you. We just have to adapt to their needs. And so I thought it was really neat how they developed that skill for both children to be able to interact with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we tend to use these strategies and these skills with adults and children, but very rarely do we see children and children. So you're right. That is a really nice strategy and tool for them to learn to connect with others. All right, so the importance of positive reinforcement. Reinforcement is an evidence-based practice used to teach targeted skills to increase the likelihood of desired behavior to continue and to strengthen the fluency of using a new skill. So we might praise a child for cleaning up their toys during cleanup time. So that's going to help that behavior increase. There are a few kind of principles when we use reinforcement to teach younger children. So first, we're going to identify the behavior or skill that we would like to teach the child. Sometimes learning a new skill can be really difficult, and therefore a child might need a specific reinforcer to motivate or encourage them into learning a new skill. Reinforcement must be meaningful to the child. So, for some children, it may be easy to identify a reinforcer. For others, it's going to be challenging. Some kids are like verbal expression of their likes and dislikes, and then some kids have more difficult time sharing their interests. So whenever possible, the reinforcer should be natural and related to the skill or behavior. For example, if a child likes to swing on the playground and they communicate using a system that they would like to swing, an adult would respond by assisting the child on the swing, pushing them on the swing, and at the same time saying, you want to swing. You used your words and you asked to swing. Good job, way to go. All right, let's go swing. So if we use additional reinforcers, in addition to positive acknowledgement, we will want to think about fading those out to use additional reinforcers. So things like toys or an activity or a high five, we might use them initially, but we would want eventually to phase those out. So when a child is first learning a new skill, we may have to systematically plan to reinforce the child each time a new skill is attempted or completed. And as the child begins to practice and use the new skill more often, the team will systematically plan to reduce the reinforcement schedule to a variable schedule, meaning that the reinforcement will only occur after a predetermined number of responses. So instead of going from every time the skill's used, we might go to every other time and then every 3 times. So when we use this systematic approach of instructional techniques to help children learn new skills, we want to teach the children within everyday activities with their peers. And so we should observe children, give them opportunities to initiate with others, and then move in to provide assistance as needed. If the teaching opportunities don't occur naturally, we might join the activity the child's interested in and create an opportunity to practice the skill. So we're going to go into peers and intervention. So in the next few slides, we're going to focus on social skill training for children who play the role of buddy. Buddies are trained to play with children who may be learning social communication skills and behaviors. And this is called peer-mediated intervention. Peers are systematically taught different ways of engaging their classmates who need extra support in social interactions in both teacher-directed and child-directed activities. So this intervention is going to include 8 steps. So first, we're going to identify who would benefit from peer-mediated intervention. So a child who is socially isolated is a child who is rarely observed, playing or talking to their peers. So we want to, observe for a couple of minutes, a couple different periods of time to confirm who we think would work well with these students who need further supports. Then we're going to recruit peers to serve as buddies. So we want to consider, does the peer buddy engage in frequent conversations? Does the peer buddy play with similar toys and materials? Does the peer buddy have similar interests? Can the peer buddy attend both large and small group instruction and follow adult prompts? Then number 3, we're going to give the peer directions to stay with their buddy and ideas about what they can do together. Then we're going to teach the buddies how to help the child use a targeted skill. We're going to monitor and support the buddies. So thinking through questions like, where will visuals be posted? What kind of feedback needs to be provided when peer buddies need assistance? And what kind of reinforcement is going to be provided when peer buddies use strategies with the target children? So always have multiple buddies for every child who needs support to ensure more engaging play ideas and to prevent buddy burnout. And then again, use that praise and encourage involvement. This one's going to be a short video, about 1 minute and 28 seconds. And so this video is going to show the teacher announcing 2 peers who are going to engage in buddy play. So often this setup is so that the children will be paired up with a buddy during one portion of a routine. And the pairs then select a center that they're going to go play with together. And the peer is taught to interact with their buddy. So as we watch this video, we're going to think of things like, what do we notice about how the teacher matched children for buddy time? What did we notice about the activity that was being used? And if there's something that we might have done differently.
Todd, come see who your buddy is. Look in the door.
Who is it?
Pull it out. Who's Todd?
Look at the picture. Who is that?
How'd you know that? Todd, who's that? Hannah, come on up.
It's Hannah.
Okay, you put Hannah's picture on, and Hannah puts Todd's picture on. Where do you guys want to play? Oh, gotta move that, don't I? Do you want to play housekeeping?
Yes.
Okay, read it together.
I want to play housekeeping.
Todd, read it. I want. I don't hear you. Want to play housekeeping. Okay, good job. Thank you.
Here, right up here. Up here, Todd. Up here. My brother needs another Dammy because he has another. Yeah, he has another hurt on his back, right up here.
Maybe Todd can get the Band-Aids for you. Ask him for more.
Dad, can you get me a Band-Aid? On here.
Go get a Band-Aid. On the table, Todd.
So, watching that video, we get to see how the children are paired up, what kind of resources and strategies they were using with the visuals and with the play together. Any thoughts or questions on that video? No worries, Miss Teresa. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go into the next strategy here called stay, play, and talk. And so this is a really nice type of peer-mediated intervention. And the goal of this is to increase and extend the frequency of peer social interactions for the child needing more support with social communication, while also minimizing the need for adult support. So stay, play, talk includes a visual support to use as we teach and support children within that stay play activity. And so there's going to be a resource on this that we'll send in the follow-up email today. So with this approach, adults teach peer buddies that they're going to stay and attend to the play of the target child. They're also going to play with a peer who needs more social opportunities by engaging with the same toys in similar ways, and then talk or comment on the target child's play. So it's important to teach the participating children how to do stay, play, talk. Teachers can train just the peer buddies and the target children, or even provide whole class instruction to all the children in the classroom. So by including the target children in training sessions, this is going to provide opportunities for the peer buddies to practice the stay, play, talk strategies. During training sessions for this strategy, we might first introduce and provide examples of a strategy about how to stay, play, and talk. And then learn how to gain their buddies' attention, ask for play-related questions. Then we're going to model the strategy and allow children to practice the strategy, and then provide positive descriptive feedback to children who are attempting to use the strategy, and then encourage children to practice the strategy with their new partners. So it's important to make a plan of implementing buddy time or stay, play, talk on a regular basis. And so these sessions can be scheduled during play, either centers or outside, when the peer buddies will be expected to use the strategies taught within the target children. We do want to collect data and information on how children are interacting with one another, and if there's a need for any adaptations, either with the peer partner or the materials or the time of the day. So we're going into our next session about planning for embedded instruction. Before I continue, does anybody have any questions, thoughts, or concerns? All right, if you do, go ahead and drop them in the chat box. I'll be watching for them. So in order to embed multiple learning opportunities for a child across daily routines, a plan has to be developed. And so a matrix is one way that we might document a plan and visually remind teachers when we're going to intentionally teach these skills. And so the matrix is essentially a table that just includes the daily schedule on the left-hand side of the column and each child's name on the top row. So this is a really nice example. Here we can see that there are multiple times during the day that each child has the opportunity to receive instruction and practice the skill that they're learning. The team has also noted if a child needs most to least help, or least to most help when practicing the skill. Click through the rest of this table. These are some examples of how they're going to practice these strategies during these activities. So, if we wanted to see, get this all the way up, there we go, okay. If we wanted to see, identifying emotions, how are we going to go? We're going to start with the feelings chart. We're going to encourage them to label their emotion within circle time. We're going to encourage them to stay with a peer for a few minutes in center play, and then again with that outside. When we talk about least to most and most to least, so that is the level of support that we are using with a child to help them use the strategy. So maybe they only need a verbal prompt, or maybe they need some physical guidance with a visual schedule and have us model it for them. That would be the most. So it depends on what the child is learning and how comfortable they feel with the strategy to begin with. All right, these are two quick videos. The first one is just 15 seconds. The second one is just under a minute. And so we're going to watch the videos. And so this is some examples of how we might do targeted teaching of social emotional skills.
Somebody knows. No, don't take it. I can't write. No, I can't write. No, I didn't.
Okay, so we've got that one. We've got a kid who's having a hard time sharing with the blocks.
This is really good.
It's good? You like it?
Yeah, wait, do you want to taste it? Oh! Wait, I don't put
Xavier, you are using the phone right now. Xavier. You are using the phone. Junior wants to play with the dishes. You know what? They don't belong to Xavier. It does not belong to Xavier. You have to play with them. You know what?
So we're seeing a couple different, really strong, challenging behaviors happening in here. He has the phone, he's wanting something else from the kitchen, he's not getting it, he's starting to have a full meltdown. And so, we see sharing as one of the biggest challenges, social challenges with young children. So they would use these observations, to see how they're interacting with teachers and their peers within the classroom in order to determine what are the targeted social skills that we need to teach. All right, now, the only way we know if a strategy is working or if the child is learning the skills that they're needing to learn is through progress monitoring. And so in this section, we're going to kind of briefly talk about the importance of collecting data when teaching individualized and targeted skills to children. There are some tools that will be shared with you guys today to record daily outcomes on a child's targeted goals based on the amount of support that they need to get to that goal. So, a data collection system is going to be based off of levels of assistance or what kind of prompts we want to give them. So this example, each prompt has a designated number based on the level of assistance. For example, if a child needs a partial physical prompt to complete a task like clean up, the score might be a 2. Whatever kind of tracking system you'd like to use. This is a handout titled General Data Collection to look at documents a little bit more easily. And so we're going to look at a little bit more about using this tool. There's a couple different sections. So we can hold up to a month of data in yellow. We can track more than one goal, which is orange. And then we can score on the level of help most often used for the child to successfully complete the skill or the behavior, and that's the green. So data points represent the adult's most frequently used level of prompts to ensure a child's successful response. And so it is a representation of trials across multiple learning opportunities throughout the day. So this concept might be challenging for some to grasp, and data collection is based on what was used across multiple learning opportunities within one day. So it is one score that shows a level of help that was provided more frequently than what was marked on the data sheet. And so this allows multiple people to observe the behavior of a child across multiple settings, which naturally increases the child's generalization of the skill. Data collection does not have to be long, extensive, time-consuming. It can be very quick tallies. We can also put pennies in our pockets and transfer the pennies from one pocket to another to count how many times they did that practice today. Maybe we have rubber bands on one arm that we transfer to the other arm every time the child does the practice, and then we count them at the end of that activity and tally it up. But the only way we're going to know if something's working or not is through data collection. So this slide offers an example of how to use a data collection tool. And so we have, the date. So there's one data point per day that shows how much help was most often provided across the learning opportunities. We have the objective. So we're going to write the target skill that the child's learning. And we're going to give them a score. We're going to score for the day. This score is based on observation, perception, what level of assistance was offered to the child. And each day we can draw a line to determine the trend of progress. So are they making gains or is there a downward trend? Are we providing the proper level of assistance? Does the child need more curriculum modifications? Are there more opportunities to learn and practice? And is the child receiving reinforcement after every single attempt? So when we are teaching children specific skills or behaviors, it is important that progress monitoring occur on a regular basis. And so this slide provides some tips on how to incorporate data collection into your daily routines. So select specific activities or times of the day where you're going to be collecting data. It is very challenging to collect data across all day, every day, even for a week. So if we are teaching a child to clean up during a transition from center time to large group, our data point might be recorded during that large group. If a skill is being taught throughout the day, we might have to decide how we're going to record the data across different learning opportunities. We're going to determine who's responsible for collecting data in each activity. So, it might be an assistant teacher, it might be the lead teacher, we might include the family, depending on what strategy we're learning, and then review that data daily. it is a great idea to establish an end of the day session or end of the day routine, which may include us cleaning up, organizing materials, and reviewing the data we collected that day. We only really need to take about 5 minutes to review or even record that data for the children that we're supporting with those individualized teaching plans. While we're reviewing the data, the team can note if there was any progress, regression, or whether a goal was met. And so data can provide information and guide decisions about next steps. If a child's making progress, then we can plan to reduce the levels of assistance that we're giving them and ensure that the skill is happening across people, routines, and locations for generalizations. If a child has met a goal, this goal can then be monitored less frequently, or we can move on to what we call maintenance of the skill. If we're noticing that the data includes a lot of variability, so the data points are high one day and they're low another day, there might be some inconsistency of how the skill has been taught. We might need to provide more environmental supports or different levels of help being offered, or maybe we're not giving enough embedded opportunities to practice the skill. So if the data suggests that the child's not making progress or if there's regression, we may want to consider breaking down the goal into a little bit easier skills. Observing how the child's being taught and if help is being offered, how do we assess if the reinforcement schedule is appropriate? So data provides the teaching team with lots of information to make these informed and effective decisions. And that is going to wrap up our session for today. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to pause our recording.